So let us start the class, and we'll do a quick recap of the poem that we have started. The name of the poem is Dust of Snow, and it is written by Robert Frost. This is your first poem in First Flight. Let me help you understand what this poem is all about. But before we do it, I'll again give you a quick recap about the poet. The poet of this poem is Robert Frost. Now, Robert Lee Frost, as his complete name is, was born on 26 March 1874, and he died on 29 January 1963. Robert Frost was an American poet. His work was initially published in England before it was published in America. Robert Frost is known for his realistic descriptions and depictions of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. Frost frequently wrote about setting from rural life in New England in the early 20th century, using them to examine complex social and philosophical themes. Let me introduce you to the poem. There might be few students who did not join the class yesterday, so this is kind of a quick recap for the one who have joined and an introduction to those who did not join the class yesterday. The poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost is a simple and a short poem, yet with a deeper and larger meaning. The poet explains how an act as petty as experiencing snow on one's body can brighten one's day up. The message of the poem is put into words by Robert Frost when he says, always, always a larger significance, a little thing touches a larger thing. Through this poem, Dust of Snow, Robert Frost, he writes the simple and very short poem. Yet, it does not mean that though the poem on the surface looks very simple and easy, but it still has a deeper and a larger meaning. So anything that is small necessarily does not mean that it does not have relevance. So the poem Dust of Snow might be just of 2 stanzas, but yes, this poem is with a deeper and a larger meaning. The poet explains how an act as small and insignificant as experiencing snow on one's body can brighten one's day up. So it's not that a big or a large moment in our life defines everything. It's quite possible that when we are down and out, a very small moment in our life can bring a big change in the way we think and the way we live. So the message of the poem is put into words by Robert Frost when he says that always, always a larger significance, a little thing touches a larger thing. So anything which is of a higher significance or a greater significance or more important, it's touched by smaller things. So small things, they all accumulate to give shape to a larger thing. Moving on to the poem. I'll read the poem for you, not once, but twice, so that the poem rings in your ear. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of the day I had rued. I'll repeat. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of the day I had rued. Let us go into the understanding of this poem, right? Let us launch ourselves into understanding how this poem works, or should I say the explanation of the poem. Okay, now the first stanza. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. This is the first stanza that I'm going to take. All right, here we go. So the poem is set in a scene where the poet is in a bad mood. He is not in a very good mood and is walking by a tree, a hemlock tree. Now, children, hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. And as the poet passes by, a crow happens to throw some dust, or should I say, some snow dust on him. When it falls on his head or shoulders, so this is not clear, as I've told you in our yesterday's meeting, whether it falls on his head or shoulders is unknown, as there is no specific mention about it in the poem. So it is not clear where the dust of snow, or should I say snow dust, falls on the poet's body. Does it fall on his head or shoulders? It's completely unknown because it is not mentioned in the poem. It is left to the reader's imagination. Also, the readers are left in a doubt whether the bird's specific actions, or should I say about the bird's specific action. And here the bird in question is the crow. Whether the crow was landing, shivering with cold, readjusting itself on the branch, or it was taking off. It happened to send some particles of snow upon the author. Here, we see the two agents of nature. The hemlock tree and the crow are signifiers of sadness and gloom, just like the poet's mood was in the opening scene. So how does the poet feel when the poem starts? Is he upbeat? Is he excited? Is he rejuvenated? Is he in a great spirit? No. Rather, the poet is in a very low spirit. His state of mind is in a sense, he's feeling disappointed. He does not seem to be enjoying his life. There's something that has made him feel hopeless and terrible. So the poet Robert Frost recounts a very small incident that changes his mood completely. It seems very simple, but it has a great significance. The incident is very simple. A crow, it kind of shakes the branch of a tree, and dust of snow, or should I say snow dust, falls on the poet, and suddenly from a gloomy mood, he feels bright and cheerful. So this is very small incident that happened, something which is very insignificant. So the poet was once very depressed and feeling hopeless. He was in a state of sorrow and was lost in his thoughts, and he was moving through a winter landscape that was laden with snow. So everything was white. He was standing under the hemlock tree. I've already told you that hemlock tree is an agent of nature and it is poisonous. Suddenly a crow that was sitting on the tree shook the tree, and the fine particles of snow from the tree fell on the poet. Moving on to the next stanza. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. So when the soft and cold snow fell on the poet, it changed his mood from the state of sadness to happiness. He started feeling soothed, or rather he felt peaceful and refreshed. This simple incident helped him enjoy the remaining part of the day. He thus became happy as it saved his rest of the day from being wasted and held in regret. So, see, this insignificant incident brought a big change in the poet's attitude, the way he was feeling, and now the way he felt after this incident. So there was a 360-degree turnaround or change in his mood. So for reasons unknown, the poet was having a terrible day. So the poet does not tell his reader what happened to him. The poet does not tell the readers why he was feeling gloomy and sad, why he felt dejected. He simply tells that he was not feeling happy. But the falling of the snow on his head lifted his spirit and his mood instantly. He had already spent his day in a bad mood, but the rest of it was saved by the crow and the hemlock tree. Now, I've already told you this thing that generally hemlock tree and crow are used for negative references. but the poet used them beautifully to portray the inauspicious things that can bring joy and happiness too. One must not take things for granted and should be open and accept whichever way the nature chooses to bless us. Often we are told in a philosophical way that whatever happens, happens for the good. Whatever is happening, it is nature that has planned it for us. And nature has the capacity to heal. And it does not matter whether we are healed by the negative aspect of nature or the positive aspect of nature. Sometimes things as poisonous as a hemlock tree and a bird as inauspicious as a crow. A crow is considered to be the harbinger of omen. It is considered to be a bad omen. So the bird and the hemlock tree, they represent the dark and negative side of nature. But see, out of this negativity, out of this darkness, comes a bolt, comes an action, happens a very small incident that brings a 360-degree turnaround in the poet's mood, and it lifts his spirit. Rather, he's thankful, he is grateful for this small yet and insignificant incident. Why is he grateful? Because had this incident not happened to him, the poet would have kept on lingering with the negativity in his mind. He would have wasted the entire day thinking about the things that went wrong with him, the things because of which he was feeling so low. And does it not happen with us? We are so much overwhelmed by certain problems or negative things that happen around us that we give a lot of time thinking about those negative things. Children, let me tell you one thing. Learn this thing. This is a habit. This is what happens in real life as well. Let's take an example of Mr. X. Mr. X can be you, can be me, can be anyone on this earth. Now, Mr. X, maybe something terrible happened with him. Something horrible happened with him. And maybe he was living a very good life, and suddenly there were turn of events, and and nature and life, it closed a door on Mr. X. And Mr. X, he kept staring at the door that was closed by life on him and kept blaming and cursing for what life did to him. And he kept on pointing at the door. He kept on looking at the door that was closed on him forever. But what he did not do was, what he did not realize was that he need to turn back and see that life has closed one door, but it has opened one for him. I'll give you one more thing, one more little story that you all know. You must have all heard of. So there was this one rich man, and he had a lot of wealth. He lived an affluent life, and he had a lot of friends. Also, a lot of relatives and family members who held on to him or showed their admiration, love, and affection to him because he was rich. Once he fell into bad times and he lost all his wealth. And then everyone who claimed to be his friend, everyone who claimed to be his relative, started to distance themselves from him. They did not come to him. They deserted him. Why? Because he was no longer a wealthy man. And there were just a couple of friends and relatives who stood by him in his thins. It is said that friend in need is friend indeed. A friend is one who stands by you in your thick and thins. So there were few of his friends and relatives who stood by him in these tiring circumstances. So what happened was this incident from where from being wealthy to becoming poor, he realized a big lesson in life that you cannot trust everyone. You cannot trust every relative and friend. The bad times showed him who his true friends were, who his true relatives were. And times change. Today you're happy, tomorrow you're sad, and then day after tomorrow you're happy again. It just keeps on happening. That's life. So this incident in his life, the wealthy man at least realized who was kind of friendly, who was a real friend, and who was not, who was faking to be a friend. And then when he became wealthy again, he knew how to judge people. So in the same manner, small incidents can bring a big turnaround in the way we think, right? So this is the sum and substance of the poem, Dust of Snow. I'd rather give you a very short summary of Dust of Snow, so be very, very attentive. The short poem by Robert Frost throws light upon the unimaginable healing power of nature and tiny things. Mark my words, this very short poem by Robert Frost, it throws light upon the unimaginable healing power of nature and tiny things. From a bad mood to ill health, there is nothing that can't be cured by nature. We are the product of nature. We human beings are we are born of nature. We live in nature. So nature has everything. It can heal us. It can cure us. The, the poet was experiencing one such bad day when a crow's movement near a hemlock tree dusted snow upon him. The snow instantly makes him happier. His day gets a lot better. Thus, the supremacy of nature as a whole made him realize how petty his problem was, how insignificant his problem was. He was simply wasting time on nothing. He was simply wasting time on nothing. We spend a lot of time thinking about the thing or an event that has happened. What are we doing? We are wasting our time, we are harming ourselves, and we are not looking at the brighter side of life. So, thus, the supremacy of nature as a whole made him realize how petty, how insignificant his problem was. The fact that hemlock tree is poisonous, combined with crow being the indicator of doom and fear, are used in the poem as the carriers of happiness in the life of narrator. Now, this is ironical. This is irony. And I'll introduce you to this literary device called irony. Look, irony is the difference between what appears to be true and what is true. Now, here, the poet gets a spark of positivity from the elements of nature that are negative in itself, like the hemlock tree. It is poisonous. Crow, it is considered as an object of fear. It is considered as a bad omen. And these two objects become the carrier of happiness in the life of the poet. So this is irony. That's how positive can come out of a negative. The poet, through these objects, has tried to highlight that sometimes creatures linked with negative aspects of life can be the bringer of change and happiness. Being outdoors in nature, with all its unpredictability, can benefit anyone, anywhere, at any time. So this is the sum and substance of the poem, The Dust of Snow. Okay. So now, children, I'm going to introduce you to the poetic devices that we have used in the poem. The first poetic device is symbolism. Symbolism is a literary device where any object is used as a symbol of something. Here, hemlock tree and crow are symbolic of the negative aspect of nature or the dark aspect of nature, because hemlock tree is poisonous and crow is considered to be a bad omen. So hemlock tree and crow in this poem are symbolic of the dark and negative elements of nature. The second one is enjambment. Now, what exactly is enjambment? Let us understand the definition of this literary device. When the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks, it is termed as an enjambment. Children, if you look at the two stanzas, the first and the second, you will realize that it's the enjambment. See, the sentence continues from the first line and it simply just continues. There is no punctuation mark that is used in the poem. So if you see the first stanza, it starts like, the way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some parts of the day I had rued. And then we see a full stop at the end. So enjambment has been used throughout the poem. So entire poem is used as a sentence which is recorded in 8 lines. And there is no punctuation mark used except after rude, the last word in the poem. So this poetic device, when the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks, is called an enjambment. You are no stranger to alliteration. Alliteration is a poetic device, or it is a literary device, where the 2 consonant sounds can be heard. Like in the line, has given my heart. So here, the ha sound, has, heart, and heart. So this is alliteration. And then we have and saved some part. So here the consonant sound s is heard. Saved some. Moving on to the next one. I've told you about it, haven't I? Irony. What is irony? Let's understand irony. Irony is a contrast between reality and expectation, between what is said and what is meant, between what appears to be true and the real truth. That is irony. When there is a contrast between what we see and what we expect. So here, what we expect is that positive energy comes from positive things, right or not? Now see, the poet was in a very bad mood. He was feeling gloomy, he was dejected, he was feeling hopeless. Okay? And what he feels inside is reflected also on the outside. The hemlock tree is poisonous, and also the crow is an agent of nature that is considered as a bad omen. So they both are negative. They both are dark forces of nature. So you do not expect a positive thing to come out of the negative agents of nature. But here, in contrast, the feeling of positivity, where the poet feels positive, that incident comes out of the agents that are negative, the agents of nature that are negative in all their aspects. So that is a contrast. So positivity is coming out of the negative agents of nature, right? Furthermore, you see the last word in this poem, it's rude. Now, rue is also a plant, not plant, but plant. There's a typographical error. I'm sorry for that. So rue is also a plant with a T that is cultivated for its medicinal use. So what is rue? Rue is a plant that is cultivated for its medicinal use, like your tulsi. It's a medicinal plant, right? So there are so many medicinal plants. So rue is also one of them. So anything that is medicinal, it cures the illness. Now, there is a bit of irony here that the poet refers to the poisonous hemlock tree and the medicinal rue, right? So, look, what poet says is that uh, uh, the irony here is that the poet refers to the negative agents that have brought the positive effect in his thought process, that had changed his thought process for the good, instead of referring to the medicinal rue. So he could have said, well, he could have stood under a rue plant, okay? Maybe he could have stood by, if not under, he could have stood by a rue plant. And maybe because rue is medicinal, it cures and treats. Rue, by coming close or by standing close to the rue, the poet could have been cured of his sadness. But instead, where does the poet go and stand? He stands next to a hemlock tree. And the crow that is sitting on a hemlock tree actually brings its action, its insignificant action brings the change, positive change in the poet. So this is irony. So there are two ironies here. The first irony I've already told you is the negative agents of nature bringing the positive change in the poet, and the mention of hemlock and rue. Rue, I've already told you, is medicinal, where hemlock is poisonous. Well, this is the rhyme scheme in the poem. The rhyme scheme is AB, AB, and it runs all through the poem. So this is the sum and substance of the poem Dust of Snow, written by Robert Frost. I hope that you have very well understood this poem. And if there is any doubt, anything that you have not understood right now, I'm going to stop the screen share. You may raise your hand if you have any doubts. I'm waiting. Okay, Stuti has a doubt. I'll give Stuti a chance to strike a conversation with me. Yes, dear Stuti, you might unmute yourself.
So rhyme scheme should be A B A B C D C D.
The way crow, snow, me, tree. Child, I'll tell you what, okay? Uh, how many stanzas are there in this poem?
2.
Lovely, you're nice, okay? Now, when in your exams, okay, you will not be given an entire poem, will you? Or you'll be given a stanza.
Yes.
You'll be given a,
Stanza.
you're right. So if you look at a stanza, let's say if stanza first comes for extract-based questions, the way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from hemlock tree. Crow, snow, me, tree. So what is the rhyme scheme you're going to write?
A B A B.
That's lovely. Imagine if the second stanza comes, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of the day I had rued. Hot, pot, mood, rude. What are you going to write, honey?
A B A B.
That's lovely.
I got it.
I think I've answered your question.
Yes.
All right, take care.
Thank you, sir.
All right, is there anyone else in the class who wants to get answers to the question that you may have in your mind? All right, so I'll take, as no one has any questions, just in case if any question comes to your mind, I'm just a WhatsApp away, so you can always WhatsApp me your queries and I'll respond with all sincerity. With this, children, we come to an end of our today's English class. I wish you a very happy summer vacations. Enjoy. It's lovely weather outside today. I know that you want to leave the class today and rush and enjoy the weather outside. So be safe, stay indoors, eat healthy, and be nice to your parents. And see you on the other side of the summer break. Till then, take care. Goodbye. God bless.